So I'll move on to Sarah, who has been an ex-Muslim for about a year and a half. This is her first time speaking in public, so I'm really, really happy to have her here and to be willing to share her story and her experiences. She also went to an Islamic school for her high school education, and she took Alima courses. I also took an Alima course, which is a scholar's course essentially, so we were both training for that. So thanks a lot for being here, and I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Alia. I guess the reason I'm here today is because I've only just recently come to the conclusion, come to accept that I'm an ex-Muslim. It took me a long time to accept that I was. I think the first time I started questioning religion was when I was about 16. I came from quite a religious background. My grandfather was a local imam at the mosque. His brother also taught at the mosque. Everybody in my family wore the hijab. It was always quite emphasised in my family that religion came first and, you know, everything else came after that. And until I was about 11 or 12, I didn't question religion at all. I started wearing the hijab when I was about 8 or 9, I think. And by the time I was 11, I was wearing it all the time. And, you know, I didn't really question why I was wearing it. I didn't understand why I was wearing it. I just knew that it was part of my religion. I think when I got to about high school and I started going to this Islamic school, I started learning more about Islam, and I decided at the time that I wanted to join the Alima course that the local mosque was running. And I sort of thought, if I join this Alima course, I'll become more religious because I'm learning more about my religion. And I felt more like the more I learned, the less religious I was becoming. Which was really weird because the more I learned from Hadith and the Quran, the less I wanted to believe in it, and the less I didn't agree with any of it. Especially when it came to, you know, I've always been an independent person. I've always liked my freedom, and I've always liked to be able to do what I want to do and make my own decisions. And when I came across reading things about women's rights in Islam, it's like, as Magdalene said, women don't have a right to divorce their husbands. And I can't understand, I couldn't accept how ridiculous that was, that a woman can't divorce her own husband. A woman doesn't get as much inheritance as her husband. She just doesn't have as many rights as a man does. She can't travel more than 48 miles without a male family member with her, which, you know, for someone that wanted to explore the world and explore so many things, that just seemed, there's no other word, but it just seemed so ridiculous to me at 13 that, you know, a woman had to endure so much. And at the same time, as I was getting older, my parents were becoming more religious and more strict. And teenagers sort of accept as they get older that their parents are going to become a little bit more relaxed. And, you know, I wanted to do normal teenage things like go outside, go see friends, go shopping, go to the cinema, you know, listen to music, little things like that. And, you know, it was those small things that really made me question why I was believing in a religion that didn't even let me listen to music, that didn't let me go outside and have friends, and didn't let me interact with people outside. And I think until I was about 16, everybody I encountered were people at my Islamic high school and my family and people who lived on my street. And almost everybody in my community where I was living in Blackburn were all Muslims. And, you know, I had very little experience of speaking to people that weren't from a Muslim background. So when I got to about 16 and I was sort of, you know, leaving the Islamic high school, going off to college, and, you know, I was quite looking forward to going to a college that wasn't Islamic and wasn't all girls, and I was looking forward to a new experience, really, I guess. And at the same time, that the Islamic high school I went to decided to add a sixth form part to their school. And as soon as it came up, my parents were sort of, yep, that's where you're going, you know. And, you know, it was the first time I thought, no, I'm really gonna stick up for myself, and I'm not gonna let them decide for me. But unfortunately, I did end up going to the Islamic college, and I tried to get myself expelled quite a lot. It wasn't anything really serious, but we had a basic uniform, which was basically just a black abaya and a black hijab, and I'd go in every single day wearing a different coloured hijab and wearing bright lipstick and wearing bright eyeshadow just for someone to expel me. But they just keep giving me detentions at the end of the day instead, and. I think about a year in, I gave up trying to get them to expel me, and I just thought, I've just got another year to go, and then I can go off to university and, you know, do what I want, and I can stop pretending that I am this religious person. And by the time it got to going to university, I was initially planning on going to a university a little bit further away from home, and yeah, I made these great plans about going away to university somewhere and, you know, being able to go off to university and live a life that I wanted to live, that my parents didn't want me to live. And as you can guess, I didn't end up going off to university. I did end up going to university, but I ended up living at home with my parents. And, you know, I commuted 20 minutes to university. And it got to a stage where I was quite essentially living two lives. At home, I'd pretend to pray, and I'd put down the prayer mat, and I'd put on a headscarf and everything, and I'd sit on the prayer mat and pretend I was praying if I heard my mum coming, and then I'd quickly hide it away when she was gone. And when I was going out the house, I'd go with my hijab on, and then I'd get halfway to uni and take it off, because I got so sick of wearing it, and I felt so trapped in it. I felt like I couldn't be the person I wanted to be whilst I was wearing my hijab. At university was the first time I encountered people that were from a background that wasn't Muslim and wasn't Indian. And I guess I met a lot of people who had conflicting views, and I guess it helped me question my religion more. It helped me understand that I didn't have to just blindly accept what my parents had told me. I had a choice. And as the years went on, as I got closer to finishing university, I'd gotten to a stage where I just accepted that I had to live this double life. At home, I was one person. At university and outside the house with my friends, I was a completely different person. And I didn't really know how long I could keep that up, I guess. University finished, and I was living at home again, and I'd started a new job. And I didn't really have the freedom I had whilst I was at university. It was just going to work, coming home, seeing family. And my parents didn't really understand the need for any sort of social life or, you know, any sort of need to go outside the house. And they were starting to talk about getting married and arranging a marriage. And every time it had come up before that point, I just sort of said, no, I'm still at university, I'm still studying. It's not important yet. But it got to a point where it was actually becoming a real possibility. And I just sort of packed my bags and left in the middle of the night. Which, yeah. I didn't really have any friends that weren't Muslims that I could speak to regarding it, and the only person I knew that wasn't a Muslim was my boyfriend, and he lived 4 hours away. So I just packed my bags in the middle of the night and got on a train and left whilst they were all sleeping. And I got to his house, and, you know, my parents were calling me, and I wasn't even planning on leaving home permanently. I just needed some time and some space away from them to think. And instead of giving me the time and the space to think, they harassed me and constantly called me, and then they went to the police and told the police that I was missing. And yeah, it got to a point where the police were calling me constantly, and I had to go into the police station and say, no, I'm safe, I'm fine, you know, don't worry about me, I'm completely safe. And then they somehow found his address and turned up at his door. And it wasn't just my mum and dad, it was my dad and 4 of my uncles knocking on his door early in the morning. And I think one of the neighbours, someone called the police because they were making such a racket. And it was at that point that I decided that I didn't want to go back. If they couldn't give me space for even just 2 days, I mean, I think I left in the middle of the night on the Monday, and they'd already turned up at his door on Wednesday morning. And if they couldn't give me space for even 2 days, I wasn't ready to go back at all. And yeah, at that point, I decided that I was going to start a brand new life and, you know, just be myself. and, you know, I was going to stop living this double life. And at that point, I sort of had a real identity crisis, because I was thinking, well, I'm not living this Muslim life anymore. Who am I? And I sort of, you know, I wasn't really, I kind of felt like I was the only ex-Muslim person in the world, which is really ridiculous, but I know it's quite common that ex-Muslim people feel like that. You feel like there isn't anybody else in the world that, you know, it doesn't seem like a possibility to leave religion, and when you do, you feel like the only person. And I went online, and just by chance, I can't remember what I typed into Google, and this amazing, you know, subreddit came up, and I found an amazing group of people, and I was able to ask them so many questions and share my story with them, and being able to share my story with them helped me accept who I am. And I think without that group of people, I wouldn't be able to I wouldn't understand that it's okay to be an ex-Muslim. It's not a bad thing. There is nothing wrong with me for being an ex-Muslim. A year and a half on from that, I think things with my family are sort of improving a little bit. I have tried to speak to them and tell them that I'm an ex-Muslim, but anytime it's come up, they just sort of pretend that I'm not saying it, and they just change the subject completely. So I'm kind of hoping that if they see this, they'll accept that I am being serious and that this isn't a joke to me. It's a bit of a risky strategy showing them this. But I hope that, you know, they'll accept that this is who I really am, and, you know, hopefully we can move on from this and build a better relationship. So thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting. Just one thing, I went to an Islamic school as well, and I did everything to get expelled from it. And when I say everything, it was little things like, you know, yeah, like not going to class on time. Well, you know what I mean? You can't really break rules there. But yeah, that was...
I think I tried to start skiving lessons
at
one point.
No, that was lovely. Thank you so much.